Well, it occurred to me, I've had multiple careers that have all been very exciting. I wrapped up with GM the first year, and I got back to Texas. And this issue of expansion of gaming intrigued me because I drove by a few casinos on the way. I was on a trip to Oklahoma, particularly looking at the Gilcrease Museum on an unrelated matter. And I got intrigued by what was going on, and candidly was somewhat, I don't want to say horrified, but definitely shocked at the outflow of Texas money into Oklahoma in particular, spurred on by Oklahoma gaming interests. My hat's off to them. I think they've outsmarted us. I'm not really sure. They showed up one day. I started getting calls. It just piqued my interest. I have a lot of friends in the education community, and people are looking for non-tax revenue, things like that. But I'd say what primarily got my attention was the outflow of money into neighboring states occasioned by Oklahoma, Louisiana, and New Mexico gaming interests. No, it was sort of sequential because when I was in the Senate, the first issue cropped up was pari-mutuel wagering. So it's been sort of a succession of events. And I guess for the life of me, I can't understand how we find ourselves in this predicament where we're surrounded. And I think it would be relatively, the task of a constitutional amendment. Let me say that I suppose that at the foundation of my conclusion to get involved is that I felt, honestly, that the people of Texas are smart enough to decide if they want to do this or not vis-a-vis a referendum. I think that people of Texas are entrepreneurial, they're risk takers, they are gamblers of sorts, regardless of where they migrated from into our great state. I just think Texans are really clever and smart enough to decide this issue for themselves. And my question was, well, why not? Let's get behind this. Let's decide it once and for all, because we're hemorrhaging money. And these other gaming interests are coming in here. They're investing huge sums into our politics, into our social structure to keep anything from happening in Texas. And that really bothered me. So here I am. And I'm going to work hard at this. I think it's very simple. We want to get a referendum to let the people decide. We don't need government in Texas to tell us how to think. And Texans are free-spirited, independent people, and they can decide this issue for themselves. And the polling I've seen indicates that they're overwhelmingly in support of it, at least the right to vote on it. Not necessarily. I think that's a decision the legislature needs to make. They're on top of the budget. They need to allocate it. Obviously, you always like to think it's going to help our education initiatives in Texas. I'm very strong supporter of public and higher education, as well as the many private education opportunities we have. So I'd like to see more money go into these, but again, I think as this Texas has evolved, we're just ready to decide this, and I think now's the time. Well, in my travels across Texas, I think the people of Texas want it to happen. You've got significant unregulated gaming going on. I've been gone 2 years, and again, looking at what's going on, I can go bet my life savings probably 10 minutes from the Capitol. There's a huge unregulated gaming operations that go on out there. And my point is, well, why don't we license and regulate it and benefit some of the revenue? The interests that are involved are multinational corporations. They're sophisticated corporations that want economic opportunity expanded in Texas. They're very strong on compliance, and they follow the law and want to invest more money in our state. There's some of the interest outside of Texas as well as within. I think it would be a huge economic boon. I think it's a significant job creator while it does invest in infrastructure, it also produces a significant number of good-paying jobs. I travel the state on the lottery, and I remember so many times. I remember one time I was speaking to a combined meeting of a Rotary and Lions Club in West Texas, and I asked if how many people in the room supported the lottery, and only 2 people out of about 100 raised their hands. And after I completed my speech, the local Catholic priest came up to me and said, "Senator, I wouldn't be too worried about that informal poll. All the preachers in our area were in the audience." So I checked after the election, and it carried that county by 57%. So I don't, you know, I think we're ready for this. I think people of Texas just are smart enough to decide it. They want the freedom and the independence to make these type of decisions, and goodness knows, let's give them the opportunity here in Texas instead of sending them off to our neighboring states to spend their hard-earned money. Yeah, the mechanics are very simple. We want to get a House-Senate joint resolution. We need 100 votes in the House. We need 21 votes in the Senate to put it on the ballot and let the people decide. We're prepared to live with the result, but let's get it out there, let them vote on it. Let's lay this issue to rest once and for all.